Sports Limelight Special Comebacks Edition. Hello, Drew.
Hello! How's it going?
It's going great. How about yourself?
Wonderful here. Just hanging with my boy Fred Savage.
It looks like you're floating there on Google Chat, and you have your autographed picture of Fred Savage joining you.
That's correct. And we also have Chris on the other line. How's it going, buddy?
All right, man. Drew, you sound like you're calling from a bubble on Mars.
Well, that's funny because I am.
Get your ass to Mars.
Yeah.
Name the movie.
Mars Attacks.
Incorrect. Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Oh, you had it. I should have gave you more time. Well, Chris, you had a great idea for this episode. Since Drew and I had taken a couple months off from talking live sports, we did have a couple of, timeless episodes there on non-sports topics. But on this topic of comebacks, which has two different interpretations.
Yes, the individual comeback and the team comeback. Well, the first and probably most important that comes to mind to me is the Bills and Oilers in 1993 playoffs.
Oh, yes, the greatest comeback in NFL history. Or worst collapse, depending on your perspective.
The Oilers were kicking butt, going up 35-3 at half, and somehow the Bills came back and won 41-38 in overtime.
And some might say that the comeback was aided by Oilers offensive coordinator Kevin Gilbride calling too many passes when running out the clock might have served them better.
Yeah, it sounds like a poor coaching decision on Gilbride's part, a.k.a. kill drive.
But that was just for comedic effect. This takes nothing away from the Bills' amazing comeback in that game with Frank Reich, a backup quarterback.
That's right. Many people fail to realize that Jim Kelly had nothing to do with the comeback. It was all Frank Reich.
How about other sports?
Here's one in baseball. This is kind of a more recent one. It was the St. Louis Cardinals against the Texas Rangers in the World Series.
Oh, yeah, they seem to make a whole postseason out of coming back time after time.
Yeah, I believe it started at the end of the regular season. They had to win their last game to make the playoffs. Then they go and are down 3-2 in the World Series on their last strike twice and come back and win Game 6. And of course, they win Game 7 as well, so...
Doesn't get much more comebacky than that. How about individual comebacks, Chris? Anything come to mind there?
Well, right off the bat, we have two NFL players who returned from really severe injuries and had surprising results. We have Peyton Manning and Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, how about modern medicine?
It is a wonderful thing.
I said this a while back, but it seems like modern medicine has spoiled us to some extent, where you kind of take for granted now, torn ACL, he'll be back in 9 months, as good as ever. And it kind of makes me wonder what to expect with Robert Griffin III in the 2013 season.
He'll be just fine. Shanahan's not going to allow him to be put in as much danger, a little bit more throwing the ball down the field. And now that it'll be his second year, that whole team will come together a little bit more under finally one steady leader in RG3, and that's kind of what they've needed for a long time, someone to center their team around.
They certainly have him, from what he showed in the 2012 season.
Yeah, so as long as his health comeback is fine, the Redskins will do good.
Now, I remember, Chris, when we talked about whether the trade was worth it, would you want to revisit that now and say, don't make the trade, or now would you say make the trade? I think it was 3 first-round picks.
I would still say no at this point because he got injured so young. He's probably going to have continuous injuries throughout his career, and he might have the significant one early on enough to just negate everything he could have been. So until we see him come back, I would say not worth it.
Yeah, you're still putting a lot of eggs in one basket with
you're not
guy.
a team. You need a team, not an individual.
Yeah, and of course their team is hampered this year because of the year 2 of 2 and the salary cap penalty that was levied against them because of the uncapped year when they changed some contracts around to kind of dump all the dead money into that uncapped year.
Yeah, and the explanation was really weird. It just sounded like they got penalized for following the rules.
Yeah, that's true. There was no explicit rule against that. And kind of, from the Redskins and Cowboys perspective, they could have a pretty good case for collusion against the rest of the league.
Because of the other 30 teams forcing that upon them.
Right. Fred Savage and Drew, what do you think?
Back when the Wonder Years was on, there was a nice comeback. Michael Jordan, didn't he come back from retirement and win 3 more championships?
Yeah, that's got to be one of the greatest comebacks.
Michael Jordan might have the greatest individual comeback and the least great individual comeback.
The wah-wah Wizards.
Yeah.
Big mistake, buddy. Oh, also, here's another mini comeback. What about that one guy from New York?
Rudy
Reed
Giuliani.
or something, who came back in the playoffs?
Oh, Willis Reed?
Yeah.
I think I would file that under psychological or emotional comebacks. The lore of how he hobbled onto the court is well documented, but then I think he only scored 4 points in the game, and it was basically a non-factor, but just the lift of spirits he gave the Knicks that day.
Hey, man, that's as good a comeback as you can get right there.
You want to know an even greater comeback?
I sure do.
I just had a phone call come in, which I took on accident. Finished the conversation in less than 10 seconds. Hit end to just turn off the phone so I could call right back in. Here's what happened. I hit end, cut off both phone calls. Your station actually just redialed me instantly, and you guys didn't notice I was gone. Ta-da!
A broadcasting comeback for the ages.
Both awesome and totally impossible to plan.
That was a little meta, wasn't it?
It was very unusual to happen like that because it's supposed to cut off just like now. This is being triple meta because the person I just hung up with is now calling me back.
Oh.
I think I'm being abducted by aliens over here.
Fred's flashing
You are
us.
on Mars. It's the Bears. Just leave a note. It's the Bears.
The Bears.
No. I mean like intergalactic human kind of bears. Not man, bear, pig made popular by South Park, but actual like intergalactic traveling bears. You're in trouble, Drew.
What if Ditka...
Candy in the great outdoors.
Okay, what if Ditka was on Mars and had to play a game against the Martians? 11 Ditkas against Mars.
Ditka. He'd win by
Gotta
a
go with
score of
Ditka on that
Ditka
one.
to nothing.
Who's coaching the Martians? Is it Ditka?
Who else would the Martians get? Huh?
Willie Galt.
I don't know who that is because it's not Ditka.
He was once coached by Ditka. So therefore, he has the properties of Ditka.
Not necessarily there. You really got to think about these things because if he was a bad player, can't blame Ditka for that. So he's bound to be a bad coach too.
What if Fred Savage was on the Martians team?
Dittka'd be nice to Fred. Ditka's a good guy.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
The bar.
Boom, boom, boom.
So
Hey, do you guys know who Yinka Dare is?
you sound like you're making something up.
No.
He's no longer with us, unfortunately, right? A former Nets center who, for a while, his thing was he had no assists, and it was a thing of, like, when was he going to get his first assist?
Yeah, he holds the record for most games in a season without recording an assist. 53 games.
How many? 53?
Yeah.
That's really sad.
Yeah, I think he was a starter, right? Or
His teammates must have hated him. Dude, you are not. I'm not shooting after you. There's no way. You're bad luck.
Well, let's see. Looking at his stats now, in fairness to him, he only played 10.8 minutes a game in that 95 season, but still.
Still fairly significant if that's per game.
Yeah. 2.8 points, 3.1 rebounds, but no assists.
Sometimes you need someone who just takes up floor space.
A lot of guys in the NBA who are good at that, and they come pre-installed with 6 fouls.
Just because everyone knows what's about to happen.
Well, Drew, a pleasure as always, and thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you guys have a good one.
And we appreciate you listening out there. We'll talk to you next time.